Dip in your hip and glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Come on in, everybody. Welcome to Mysteries Beyond the Scenes. I am your host, Joni Skinner. We are streaming live tonight on the R.I.F.T Nation Network, on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you so very, very much. Welcome, chat. How are my friends doing tonight? Hello, Ruth. Thank you, Renee. Hi, Denise. Hi, Lois. I know I saw Miss Lisa and Miss Tammy earlier. How is everybody? Welcome, welcome. Come on in, you guys. Happy Wednesday night. What a week we have had here, huh? And I know our friends in Canada. I hope you all are doing well. Boy, what a week. And right when the hurricane in Florida is hitting, what I will say is I talked to our friend, our friends from Peace River. That's exactly where Englewood. Michael's down in Englewood, which is right at Sarasota. So I talked to Michael this morning, and he and his wife, Splash, all the animals went over to West Palm Beach. They evacuated. And so little Splash is okay. And all the animals are fine. So they are kind of like, that's their staging area because, they're search and rescue. He never likes to leave. So this morning before work, I texted him and I said, just get out. Get out. Michael, it's not worth it. It's because when Hurricane Ian was happening, I don't know if y'all remember it. He would take pictures and he was sending them to me, and like they were literally, their house was flooded completely on Hurricane Ian, and he was sitting in the boat, the search and rescue boat, because they were so underwater. So I'm glad they're safe. I'm glad they're gone. I just texted him. They probably don't have power, and they're probably like, "What are these idiots doing texting me? I'm in the middle of a hurricane." So thank God. I know, Tammy, isn't that the truth? Michael is our buddy. So as soon as he gets back and things are settled in, we'll have him and Splash on the show so y'all can meet Splash. Splash is the river otter that he is currently training to do search and recovery. Splash is ready to go. He's got his little vest. He's been training him, so he will go down and help Peace River. Little Splash. I want a little splash. Hello, Robert. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Miss Rhonda. How are you? Hello, Miss Lois. I hope everybody's doing well and watching the hurricane. I think we've all been watching the hurricane, haven't we? It's wild. The whole thing is wild. So we are going to talk about Emily Rea tonight. And after that, I did a chart. And actually, Crystal did one too. As soon as Helene hit, we did an event chart for the flooding. And I said, Crystal, this flooding up in Appalachia reminds me of in Kentucky 2 years ago, out of nowhere. Like, I'm going to exaggerate. Between 12 and 20 inches of rain fell on the mountains just like that, out of nowhere, flooded the entire little city of Hazard, Kentucky, and surrounding little cities like Appalachia has. They have like Hazard, and then there's little cities all around it. Well, it annihilated Hazard, Kentucky 2 years ago. Same thing. Because everything hit up in the, it's not supposed to do that. It's not supposed to do that. It's not normal. And they told us it was once in 100-year flood. Well, that was 2 years ago that it happened to our people in Kentucky, which is right next to where it happened, like down in Asheville. I know that route very well because that's how I would go to Camp Lejeune to go visit my daughter when my son-in-law was in the Marine Corps. Would go down Ashland, Kentucky, go down into West Virginia, get a little bit in Virginia, and then down through Carolina on 40. So I know that route very, very well. So we did the chart because I thought I'm going to compare both of these charts because I don't know, I just felt odd. I was uneasy about it. I didn't like it. And maybe because 1,300 people are, I think, believe still missing. I'm not sure. I don't know if they actually know how many people are still missing. I'm not sure. Well, Keith, when it happened in Hazard, it was on a smaller scale because it wasn't a hurricane. It was a thunderstorm. We don't have 30 inches of rain in a thunderstorm in Kentucky, let alone the mountains of Kentucky. That doesn't happen here. But it happened 2 years ago. And it took out the whole area. People lost their lives. It was horrific. Doesn't happen here. So needless to say, I did the event chart. We're going to take a look at that. Well, and then, of course, because I have a Neptune, my Neptune is in Saturn or Scorpio in the 8th house, I dig. That's why I do true crime. And I dug some more. So I've got some other information that I have dug up for y'all, and I think you're going to find it very interesting. And you can see it on the slide, Project Cirrus. I found that on the NOAA, the NOAA information page. Back in 1947, when they were doing experiments, and there was a hurricane that was out to sea, and they did an experiment on this particular hurricane in 1947, Project Cirrus, whatever it is. Well, what happened in 1947 is they lost control of the hurricane and it went into Charleston. Wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to go out to sea. So, needless to say, the population of America was a little ticked because at that time they told people what was happening. So that led me to more and more rabbit holes. I think you're going to find this very interesting information. And if you want more, it's on Noah's website. Everything that I've gotten that I'm going to show you guys after we go through Emily's case is on Noah's website. If anybody says, what's your source? Well, the government's page. I was in Camp Lejeune the first 3 years of my life. I drank the water too. My dad is a Marine. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I drank it too, Tam. I've been down there a couple times. Yeah, my grandson was born down there when TJ was home. He did 2 tours in Afghanistan. 2 tours in Afghanistan. We have issues with IVs need to be conserved in the hospital because Baxter plant was flooded. Can't get up there with 2,500 employees. With all their prayers that they get the bridge straight, find the employees, and able to get back to work soon. Oh, that's so sad. Absolutely. It's really, really, and I don't know how much you guys are following the Appalachia issue with Helene. What Samaritan's Purse and what the special ops retired vets are doing with the helicopters is phenomenal. They're phenomenal pilots, and I don't know what Appalachia would do right now without the American people, but I do know Appalachia people. I mean, we're not that far from, it's kind of like down the road from us. They will give you their shirt off their back. You won't go away hungry. I know that. So I'm just, my heart just explodes when I see all these people giving and giving, and I don't know what these people would do. Thinking of that, Tammy, I went when I was in, speaking of the military pilots. I was on a flight in Hawaii. I don't know if you've ever been to Hawaii on those choppers, but they go in these little tiny mountain spots, and I go, gosh, you're almost touching the sides of the hills, dude. I said that to the pilot, and he goes, I was in Nam, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing. You got it covered. You know what you're doing. So, yeah, it is very, very sad. So our hearts and our prayers, it seems like they're getting a lot of help. And, we've got Walmart, we've got McDonald's, we've got FedEx is sending stuff. Oh my gosh, 300 Starlinks were delivered on private planes from Elon. More than that, I think. So thank goodness that the people are connecting now with Starlink. Something I think I'm going to check into too is Starlink. It's too expensive for me though, but boy, it would be worth it. You got to have electric though to run it. So, but I'm not sure about the phones. I don't know. I'll have to check into it. Well, let's get started, you guys, because I want to show you guys a lot of these charts that we did. And I'm still working on the charts I'm going to do it with the hurricane that's hitting now. And I'm going to compare that with Helene when she hit, and Betsy, because Hurricane Betsy, when I show you what I found out, was scheduled to be planted. I won't say the word that is out there that's probably getting on the algorithm. Betsy was also supposed to be planted. So, like every show, I'll bring you guys a site if you have a missing person that you can look into their operation. A lot of them provide PIs at no charge, posters, a lot of good help out there for people with missing loved ones. MissingPersonsCenter.com, another wonderful organization. Missing Persons Support Center, MPSC.com. MPSC.com, another wonderful group that's out there. Wonderful. I mean, we've got, I think, on the list about 10, 15 groups on the list already. Tonight, I'll do our case for tonight. This is a real mystery, you guys. I got a call, I don't know, a week ago or something regarding this case. And it was somebody that I know, yet she said, I'm not a friend of the family, but my daughter lives in this area and I cannot shake this case. I can't get this young woman out of my head. And I told her, I said, I've seen that. I don't know what it is. I've seen it dozens of times where a person that doesn't know the family, they don't even know anything about the person that went missing, but they get it's almost like an it's almost obsessive with the case. She said, I know if you map it, you can help me. I know where she is. I think I can find it with a map. And I said, well, yeah, I'll help you, and you can give it to the family, do whatever you want. But I don't know what that's called. But I've seen it. I've seen it dozens of times where people, I don't know if it's that person's spirit goes around that person and they feel it. I have no idea what it is, but they get to the point where they can't sleep. They're so involved with this missing persons case, they will do anything to find this person. 9 times out of 10, they know where that person is. I have no idea what that is. And they always connect to one person, whether it's a woman or a man. If anybody knows what that is, because I sure don't, but it happens. So this particular case is all the way up in Hungry Horse, Montana, which is almost at the Canadian border. Look at that. It's right next to Seattle, all the way up at the top of Montana. It looks absolutely beautiful. And this young woman, Emily Rea, was she was like a survivalist. She knew the outdoors. She had spent a lot of time in Alaska, up in these are people that know what they're doing. It's not like they just go on trails. They know the outdoors. She was a teacher and a single girl who was loved in her little community. She always went with her little dog or her dog and she went paddle boarding. Okay, this is the first case I've done that was on a paddle board. So in the evening on July 16th at 8:30 p.m., and I thought, well, why would she go paddle boarding in the dark? It would be getting dark soon. It doesn't get that dark up there that late. It's okay. That threw that off. She went on July 16th at 8:30 p.m., according to the cameras at the reservoir, and I'll show you all these pictures. Her paddleboard was found. The paddle was still in place. The paddle was not away from her. And she has never been found. Never been found. Her vehicle was found. She has never been found. That's been since July. They have used, again, all kinds of equipment to find Emily. So let's take a quick look at her case. There she is. Let me get her bigger. Let's try to do this bigger. There we go. Emily was 33 years old. She was reported missing on July 18th, was paddleboarding alone, and call Flathead County Sheriff for tips. She was paddleboarding, okay, at a reservoir. Okay. The dog was not with her on that particular day, Miss Donna. Hi, Miss Donna. I'll talk to you tomorrow about the weekend too. How are you doing? Dog wasn't with her, right? Okay. For those of you that don't, I thought she was in a kayak, but I'm like, no, it was a paddleboard. That's the paddleboard. And if you remember, we did another case, and that was Obama's chef on the paddleboard. Remember? There we go. We had that. So there's her, something like that. If you look on the right, her vehicle was found. I'm going to show you where the boat launch is. At the boat launch, exactly due west, the paddleboard was found in a little, I'll show it to you, a little area where you can also get in and out of the water with a vehicle. But the paddle was found connected to the board. That's a clue. That's a big red flag. Now, did she go over there perhaps maybe to go to the restroom? I don't know. Nobody knows. Was it a wild animal? What happened? The water, the direction of the water was going west. So, big clue, okay? That is a picture of where you enter to get into the water, okay? There's another picture. This little cove is where the paddleboard was found. And if you look at the bottom little arrow, it's that area. So cars can go in and out of there. Okay? So that gives you kind of the lay of the land. This water, it's really strange. This water is crystal clear. I'm sure it's deep. Okay? Alrighty. That's what we know about Emily's case. Okay? They are still actively looking for Emily. Police are being very tight-lipped, as far as, what about the phone records? What about, were there cameras? Everything matches that she entered the water alone. Or did she? She was alone. Okay, it's consistent with, everything is consistent with, she was there at 8:30 according to any of the cameras that were there. But there's no cameras apparently where they could follow her. There are no cameras over at this little area where the paddleboard was found. The paddle was found stowed and assembled on the board. Her cell phone was not with the board, and it last pinged on a tower, reachable. And I'll show you where it last pinged. And the time of the ping was consistent with her travel from the last security camera sighting at the riverboat launch. So the ping was consistent with where she would have paddled to. Did somebody over on this little, where we're looking at right now, kidnap her? Did she have an accident? Did she fall in? Who knows? It's crazy. This is crazy. Let's take a look at the chart. Now, when I did the chart, my heart just sank because it was one of those charts where you look at it and go, no, no, no. So let's take a look at it. I'll tell you what the chart tells us. Okay. Let me pull it up real quick. Okay. Remember, when we look at a forensic astrology, when we do a true crime map, we look at the ascendant, which is the ruler of the first house. The ruler of the first house tells us that is Emily. Who represents Emily? It's Capricorn. What's the ruling planet of Capricorn? Saturn. We see Emily is in the third house, around the neighborhood. The third house is the activity of what a person is doing at that time. It could be they're in the neighborhood. We see what she's doing. Where is she? In Pisces. She's on the water. She's on the water. So we know Emily is on the water at that time. We're going to also look at the moon. We always look at the moon as the co-ruler. Well. What do you know? The co-ruler is in the 12th house. What is the 12th house in forensic astrology? Very well hidden. Ugh. So, Emily, very well hidden, but we know that she was on the water because Saturn, which represents Emily, is in Pisces. So, what else do we see? Guess what? The perp, who is the descendant, which is right across from Emily, right? The perp is right next to Emily. Oh, this won't get bigger for me. Okay, the perp is, it's Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. So the perp is in the 12th house. Okay. Look at where the moon goes. The moon is opposing in the 5th house, which would be the reservoir, because you guys know the 5th house is places that we like, things that we enjoy. It's recreation. It's golf course. It's ballpark. It's what we like to do. But look at that. Mars and Uranus are together. So, of course, in a crime chart, Mars represents violence. It can also represent a weapon. A gun, violence, knife. And Uranus is like conjunct. So what we see in the 5th house with the moon is the fact, to me, if I were reading this chart, Emily was probably surprised because Uranus is surprised, shocked, unexpected violence of some kind. So we're going to go run our eyes up to what is this Mars and Uranus connected to? Well, we look up at the 8th house. What does the 8th house designate? Well, it's usually the house of unalive. Hits Mercury. Is that her phone? Could that be her car? Was there movement with the phone? It could be a heavily forest area in public. That's what Leo is. I would look in the heavily forested area, in that public area, and not the area where in the water. I would look in the wooded area for her. I don't think she's in the water. Why do I not think she's in the water? Because the moon is hidden as well. Moon is not in water. It's a guess because Saturn can also be remains. My guess, something happened. She was overtaken and is in that up in Leo in the 8th house is a public, heavily wooded area. Public, heavily wooded area. And I would go about a mile and a half back into that wooded area. That's just what I think the chart says. I know you're in here, Rue. Rue, what do you think? That was that's what the chart tells us. This chart told us a lot. This chart pretty well, I think, tells the story. Let's take a look at the mapping. Oh, whoops. Let's put an extra chart in there. Okay, the middle yellow pin is where she went with her. Remember when she dropped her car off and looked there? One of those lines goes right to that little cove, to the exact spot where the cove is. That's where I think she is. I think she's in the wooded area over there. That's just it's a guess, but it's a pretty good guess. So that's a larger map. If you see this, the yellow pin up at the top is where she lived. The yellow pin in the middle of the 3 pins is where her phone pinged, in that area. But down in the mountains, they're going to have towers all over the place. So that wouldn't surprise me. So that's just my guess. Look at that. That line, look at that. It went to the exact little cove. Exact. To that exact little cove. As you can see, there's also a road down there. See that? I'm sure they've looked in that heavily wooded area, but I think personally they concentrated on the water, and I don't think she would be in the water. I guess they'd have to look thinking, but why would she be in the water if her paddle and her little paddle board and the paddle was stowed away? That means she got out of the water. Perhaps she went to the bathroom. Perhaps she met somebody. That tells me she was not in the water. But they searched the water. They won't get out. They won't stop searching the water. I would search the woods. Oh, so that's that case. Okay, let me see. So Keith says maybe where the white spot is. Which white spot, Keith? This white spot up here? That very well could be. I think something did happen to her. I don't think Uranus would be an accident that close to Mars. I don't know. But I hate to say that, but I don't think it was an accident. I don't know. I according to the chart, I would say no. I don't think so. That is Emily's case. Very sad case. And Karen says, we have a case in New Zealand here where 3 kids and dad are eluding police. Almost 3 years. Would you do a chart for that? Sorry for a cheeky question. Sure. Absolutely. Why are they avoiding the police? Karen, are they hiding from the police? Sure. Send me the information. Do you have a timestamp when they were last seen, the address they were seen at? Just PM me. PM me on Facebook. Yeah, I'll look at it for sure. 3 years. That's crazy. That's crazy. Thanks for tuning in from New Zealand. That's cool. Does anybody else have any other thoughts? Hi, Michelle. Weren't they spotted the other day in camo clothes? Oh, in New Zealand? Keith wants to know, weren't they spotted the other day in camo clothes? The 3, I don't know. We'll ask. Karen, that's what Keith said. Were they spotted? Don't know. Don't know. Okay, let's get on to, because, oh gosh, I'll hurry. Now, like I said, I did a deep dive into the Asheville chart. After I took a look at the Asheville chart, I started to look into more stuff because the chart was a little suspect to me. That's all. It wasn't that sus, but it was still sus. I thought, well, this chart isn't making any sense. What is this about? So I started seeing online, like everybody else did, about this planting things in clouds. Didn't know much about it, but I thought, well, what are they talking about? What are people talking about? I'm gonna dig. Like I said, Neptune, Scorpio and Neptune's gonna dig. Well, look what I found out. Now I don't know, you guys probably all know this, and here I think I'm finding out something really cool. And you guys probably all know this, and I should be very, very careful for what I'm saying. But my source and where I found this was on NOAA's website, which is the government website. So I don't know what the problem is. In 1947, here's that Project Cirrus. It was attempted to modify a Milton. GE, U.S. Army, Naval, and Air Force. They were experimenting. Well, what happened, the first attempt to modify this with the planting began on October 13th. It was heading west to east. Well, guess what happened? The darn thing, after they planted on it, turned around and went back into Charleston and caused so much damage. They made this thing turn around and go back in. And the American people were mad. They were furious at this. Furious. You're playing God. You shouldn't be doing this. You should, back then, the newspapers were throwing a fit. There are thousands, Lee. There's not just one. I researched. There's not one. There are thousands of them. It's unbelievable. Thousands of them, and they're very recent as well. So that's where that start. So that, of course, then I saw another thing. It didn't stop there. And Project Cirrus became Storm Fury. Okay? It lasted more than 20 years. Never managed to dismantle. What their purpose was to dismantle them, not make them bigger, but to dismantle them. Okay? So what happened is, if you all remember in 1965, which, I was a little girl, there was a hurricane named Betsy that went into New Orleans let me get out of here and I'll show you Betsy. Okay, there's Betsy. That went on the weirdest path in the world, didn't it? There were many, many deaths. New Orleans was decimated. They planned to plant the storm as it looked like it would remain away from land. However, it turned toward land and the plans were called off. Unfortunately, the media did not hear of the canceled plans. So when Betsy hit land, all HE broke loose because the press were blaming the scientists and the military for Betsy turning into a monster storm and going up into New Orleans. That was in 1965. Okay. Took several months before Storm Fury officials were able to set the record straight and confirm that they had not planted the storm and had not caused it to strengthen. Okay, that's my research. Hurricane Betsy is probably one of the worst that ever hit New Orleans. Oh, now we got Operation Popeye. I just kept finding more and more. This is interesting because this went on, allegedly sponsored by Henry Kissinger and the CIA without the authorization of the Secretary of Defense and the military. And the planting was used to enhance the monsoon season in North Vietnam. You can read the whole study. It's on all the government websites. It's been declassified. They made it rain 9 inches in less than 4 hours in one spot. It rained so much that it flooded out the U.S. troops. It was called so the world was all in an uproar. And there are actually world kind of like laws that you can't do this. You can't do this planting now. But I wanted people to know that this was going on during the Vietnam War by the CIA. Funny. This is all NOAA. This is all in the newspapers. This is unclassified government documentation. That's where I got this stuff. Then this popped up. ABC News in 2009, Bill Gates has a plan. Good news, folks. Microsoft founder Bill Gates has turned his attention to controlling the weather. ABC News. Almost science fiction, hurricane modification, and Project Storm Fury. So that's what I found. And you can find anything you want. So for anybody to tell us that they don't know where this came from, that this has never happened, that they've never heard of such a thing, when it's on their website, NOAA, and it's easily accessible. You can find it. You can pull it up. You can look in the old newspapers. This was ABC News, USA Today in 2009. So to say that this is not done and they've never heard of such a thing is a load of bunk. I got the receipts. And there's more receipts. There are more of these projects. I just pulled out some of them. They're all over the place. Anybody can find them. So anybody that says that this isn't done, they're full of it. I just can't stand to be lied to. I can't take it. So don't tell me it doesn't happen. We've got the proof. So let's take a look at the chart from Asheville. Now, this is what is so intriguing, okay? We did the event chart. I know, Michelle, look at Michelle. You've been in the rabbit hole again. It didn't take long. I was on go to NOAA, N-O-A-A, the NOAA web chart, the government web chart on weather. You can find everything. They've even got the links that you click on to go get the congressional hearings. You can go look at all the congressional hearings they had on all of these things that they're saying don't exist. They do. Here is the astrology chart. So this is of course, this is going to be a mundane chart. So we had flooding. What do we look for when we talk about flooding? Neptune. Neptune is opposing Mercury. Neptune on the 4th house would be the homeland. So we have a flood in the homeland that was not properly communicated. I don't know how well it was communicated to the people in North Carolina. They told us we would get 1 inch to 2 inches of rain. It would rain on Friday and Saturday. Saturday with showers. It rained from Friday to Tuesday here, over 6 inches of rain, and we had 70-mile-an-hour winds. We had 70-mile-an-hour gusts. People lost power here. So this could have been the misinformation that the chart is talking about. Um, Neptune hit the homeland. So it was excessive. What do we look for when we look for something that's excessive? Jupiter. Neptune is connecting right to Jupiter. What house is that? The house of open enemies, the seventh house. Uranus on the descendant. Shock. People were shocked. Then we go to the second house. Second house is money. And it's in Capricorn. What is Capricorn on a mundane astrology? Is old structures. Money, old structures. It's the government. And we look at Mars. Mars is the military in the 8th house, which would be the unalive house in Cancer, flooding. So the sun would be older gentlemen. The sun can also represent a head of state, can represent somebody like King Charles, was directly, it's connected to Neptune, which is the flood. That's what I'm going to say about that. Needless to say, this chart pretty well spoke for itself. And that's the event chart. There were a lot of, look at all the deaths. Second house, Pluto, would be the deaths. That would represent all of the unalive situation. With the moon is up in the 8th house. The 8th house represents unalive. The moon, what's the moon in a mundane astrology chart? It's the people. It's the people. So, and it was shock. Uranus, and it just got so big. 7th house. Open enemies, not hidden enemies. So that's the chart of Asheville. I know. Look at Keith. Here's Keith. Boom. I know. I can't make it up. They did, though, Keith. From what I understand, they had no warnings. They had the weather reports of the storm coming up with water, flooding, flash flooding. But I don't think they were going to know that they were going to have the flooding that they got. I mean, flash floods here is a creek that comes out of the water about 5 feet. So, I mean, it's the chart. Here's Keith. Dry ice, HARP, chemicals and waves. Yeah, I found that out. Iodine, too. Iodine. Is that the chemicals? Iodine. No, it was not. And that's why I said our intensity, they told us 1 to 2 inches. We got over 6. They said Friday night we would get rain with wind. It rained from Friday to Tuesday nonstop. It actually got stuck on Kentucky and just wouldn't go away. We needed the rain. We were in a drought. But we're not up in the mountains. I mean, Eastern Kentucky's in the mountains. So I think that was pretty interesting. Oh, yes, it's nothing. The info is out there. Here's Lee. Lee says, wow, well, does anybody else have any interesting info on this? I'm just telling you guys what the chart says, and that would be any event chart, because Neptune would be the flood. Rue, are you in here? Because do you have anything else you want to add to this? If you see anything to this, Moon are the people up in the eighth house of death with the water. Mars is the police, the military, connected to Mercury, Neptune. That would tell me, and they're in opposition, Keith, that they didn't. That it was not communicated. Communicated they were going to get rain, but not to the intensity of life altering flash flooding. I don't think so. It's because they're in opposition to Neptune. Neptune is really strong in this chart, which is the flood in Pisces. Saturn sits down there. Saturn also can represent GOVT. That can also represent that. Homeland. And it connects right to Mars. So that is that information, my friends. It's like Keith says, boom on the charts. I'm going to be curious to see how Helene and Milton's hurricane touchdown, the exact time they hit land. We're going to compare those two charts with Betsy from 1965 and see if there's any resemblance in those three charts. See if there's anything there. Could be very interesting. It's interesting to see. I'm not saying this is scientific because it's not. This is the event chart. I just found it curious to do because of all the talk. It's kind of a fun rabbit hole to go down. You know, you can think about it for what it's worth, but all the information is out there. You can find it. I did. If I found it that easy, anybody could. And the receipts are there. Don't forget, you guys, October 13th, this Sunday, the transit astrology class in conjunction with Donna at Silverwolf Gift and Treasures. You can still sign up for class if you'd like. That'd be fine. It's the live classes from 12 to 2, and then the Zoom classes from 3 to 5, transit class. What the planets are doing with your natal chart now. I like that class. And also, you guys wanted in the beginning astrology from the beginning. So I'm gonna do that class in November, and probably solar return charts in November. So I'll get those dates. Lee, well, I want a warm winter. Is that possible? I don't know. It's so crazy right now. I wouldn't look past anything past October. It's crazy. It's craziness. And the astrology is crazy too. The astrology going into this weekend and next weekend is off the charts again. Up through the election, it's pretty gnarly. It's going to be some stuff that we got to navigate, but we're ready. We can do it. We can do it. We got this. We got it. Good deal. Okay, Michelle, I'll get you all your stuff too, hon. As soon as I hear from Donna tomorrow, I'll start emailing stuff out to anybody. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about in the chat with Emily? If you got any other feelings, that is a mystery and a half. Or the planting thing that's going on. And then we'll all get off here and go watch the hurricane. Make sure our friends are doing it A-OK in Florida. We love our friends in Florida, so take care, you guys. Well, that's the show for this week. If anybody has anything else, have a great week. Please be safe this week, you guys. Everybody be safe. We'll have another case next week. I will do the hurricane when they hit the landfall, and we'll look at those next week as well and have another missing persons case. Don't forget about Emily's case. Pass along her missing poster That's a mystery and a half. Mystery and a half. I saw that. I saw they were. They're like EF1s and 2s though, aren't they? I think they get that. They don't get the 3s and 4s and the 5s. I think they get the EF1s and 2s. I know they're bad. I know they're bad. It's a nasty, nasty storm. You are more than welcome, you guys. Well, have a great week, everybody. And I will see everybody next week on another episode of Mysteries. So have a great week. Don't forget to tune in to Keith and I on Monday at 8 p.m. for the Otter's Den. Have a super week, everybody.